and welcome back to our basic Saturday sampler here at Close to Home in Southington. You need to bring in your completed May basic block beginning this Saturday, June 21st through June 30th to receive today's June's kit free. Of course, we have very big savings on new and gently used sewing, embroidery, and serger machines, as well as long arms. You can check out our website for our used machines. And we have some hot deals on the Janome 8200 right now until the end of July 31st. So you should come check that out for sure. We've also put out new Finish the Bolts, 50% off. There are 2 very large stacks of them, so please come check those out when you come to pick up your June kit. All right, they will be out for Saturday for this weekend. Okay, let's take a quick look at the block. A little bit of a refresher. In March, we did the small flying geese ruler, which is a 3x6. So I will not be going over the flying geese units for you today. If you need more instruction, please go out to our website. The link to the March basic video is out there. Just click on it and you can rewatch the video for the flying geese. It is a finished 3x6. It's the Eleanor Burns small flying geese ruler. So what we are going to take a look at is the Creative Grids square on square 6-inch trim tool today. So we cut our center, we cut our blue triangles and our stars, and we're going to make a nice square and a square. And of course we have our very basic corners at 3.5 or 3-inch finished. So we're going to start with the white. That is cut 7.5. That is our flying geese body. We have the corners of our block, which are 4 3.5-inch squares. The red are the wings of our flying geese. The center block is our states at a 3.5-inch square. And then the stars, you need 2 4.5-inch squares cut on the diagonal once. That's for the outside portion of our square on square 6-inch. And the blue fabric is cut into 2 3.5-inch squares, once again cut on the diagonal just once, and that's going to go around our center block. So the only cutting I'm going to show you is, again, how to get a larger square from a smaller ruler. As you know, I don't like to use the lines on the mat to cut any of my blocks because I really think I get a much better cut with the Creative Grids lines on their rulers. So let's cut the 9-inch red using 2 rulers. Okay, real quick. I've starched all my fabric already, and I have this square that came in my kit. So the first thing to do, I only have an 8.5-inch ruler, so I want a 9-inch square. So the first thing to do is to get a nice clean edge, of course, right? So I want to measure over 9 inches from here. So I'm going to use a second ruler that has a 1/2 inch on it, because 8.5 plus a 1/2 is my 9. And I'm just going to line up my long ruler with the 1/2 inch mark, as you can see, right on the fresh cut that I just did. I'm going to push this right up against it, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut my 9-inch strip, I guess you could call it. So now we need a square. It's the same thing. I'm going to line up the top and the bottom, which is the 9-inch from 2 to 11. You could go to any numbers that you want, but it's 9-inch. Get my square corners going, my 90-degree corners, and then this is the last one that we have to cut at 9. Same thing. I'm going to put my 1/2 on the line we just did, bring my ruler over, and make sure the line goes all the way across both the top and bottom, so I know I'm nice and square, and I have my 9-inch square. Okay, so ways to do it, I mean, obviously having a 10.5-inch Creative Grid square is better, but you can definitely get away with using 2 rulers in place of the 1 if you have them. So those are going to be made up of our flying geese. So I'll just put that aside, and again, March Basic goes over that technique. So the other ruler that we're going to be using is our Creative Grids. I'm going to hold it up or down? Up, it's fine. Is the Creative Grid Square on Square 6-inch trim tool. You could use the directions in another block, for instance, to cut a pinwheel and frame out a pinwheel or a 4-patch to make your 3-inch in the center. But we just cut a square because it is basic, and we just want to get the technique going about how to make the outside pieces. But you could piece your 3.5-inch square and use that in the center, but not for this block, okay? We're just going to start with a plain old square. So the first things we want to do, and the nice thing about this is all the cutting instructions are right on the ruler, and of course the markings. So what I've done is, when this was a 3.5-inch square, I cut it on the diagonal once, and then what I did is I used my ruler to mark the center. I just laid my ruler from corner to corner and gave it a little bit of a mark so I know where my centers are. So that's going to help line it up with this. So I want to try to get my centers on this, so I'm going to go 3.5. Half of that is 1 3/4. So I'm going to measure over 1 3/4 and put myself a little line up here to match up with my triangle. And again, this isn't necessary as long as you know where you are, where your center of your block is. Okay, so here and here. All right. So let's go ahead and do opposite sides. I'm just going to match those 2 lines on top of each other, right there and there, and sew my 1/4 inch. So let's go over, and then we're going to press it and trim it. Let's make sure they are lined up. I can come over just a tad. All right, so if you want to pin it, go ahead and pin it. I'm just going to run it through. So make a little noise first. All right, here we go. Hold that very end because it has a tendency to want to stretch on you a little bit because you cut it on the bias. Okay. All right, so we have that one. What row? And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Opposite sides first, matching my 2 lines. I'll take a little peek here at my sewing machine. Pull it over just a tad. You could fold it and find the crease and get the center that way. It's totally up to you. And we are trimming this, so it doesn't have to be super exact. Okay. All right, so we're going to press these outward, in other words, toward the triangles. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So let's match up our triangle in the center. Oh, guess what? I used a friction pen. Huh? It's all gone. So I'm just going to take a little guess there. Okay. And this last one, match those up, get it right in the center. Sorry, jammed a little. Let's do that again. All right. And hold that right where it needs to be. You can pin it or hold it. Basically, it's just going to come right out that little triangle, that little valley right there. And again, we're going to press this out. All right, and now we're going to go use our ruler, the Creative Grid, square on square. Oops, my corner. And we're going to be looking for block B. We're doing the block B. So we have block B1 and block B2. So the first one is block B1, and you see the white line that frames out block B1. And what we're going to do is line up the seam of the states with that white line that says block B1 right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay that down. And you see how that fits right over that square all the way around block B1, and we're going to trim two sides. It's easier if I trim on this side first. So line up block B1 with the seam, get it right in there, and we're going to cut these two sides. Okay, and then all we're going to do is turn our unit 180 degrees in the other direction, line it up exactly the same. You can see we have our 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on each corner. Okay. And then we're going to add our stars. Same thing. Now I already know where my center is because I have my point there. So I'm just going to line up the line and do it again. Opposite sides. I marked these as well. There we go. And we're just going to do these 4 sides and trim it. These go together very, very quickly. Grab another one. Match my line. And so. You could have sewn it from either side, it doesn't matter, but because I had my 1/4 of an inch there, I'm not worried that I cut anything off. Sorry, it's very hard to see white on white. But it goes right through, so you get a nice point on your square under here. Okay, so we're going to press that. And last but not least, one more edge. And then we can trim using the B2 area. So I made my little center line. I'm lining it up with my corner of the states. Actually, these will get trimmed off, so I'm not too worried about them. Oh, here he is. So find the line that I drew, and we're just going to match it right up to that point and go ahead and sew again. catching on me today. There we go. Time to change my needle. Again, right out that valley, you're going to have a nice even edge, but we're going to trim it. So if it does or doesn't, it's okay. It's very forgiving, this block. It's a very nice, easy block to do. Okay. And then the last thing we're going to do is trim it to 6.5, which is the exact size as my ruler. But this time we're going to be looking for the block B2 right here. And it's a black square that goes from edge to edge to edge, leaving my 1/4 inch. Now, nice against the Creative Grids that they have all these grips on them. Each time you go to push down, it holds your block into position. And we're just going to put this black line right around the blue. And that's it. And we're going to trim it on all 4 sides. So we have this one and this one. I'm going to turn it 180 degrees, line it up again. Beautiful. It's lined up along the edges I just trimmed. And we have a 6-inch finished square on square. All right, so you're going to use those, put them together in rows, and I'm not sure if I don't think I pressed these open. No, I just pressed them to the sides. I think I went that way with those and this way with that one. And then I put them together. So super easy, very fun, square in a square. You can get very creative, do something different in the 3-inch square if you want. But for June, that's the block we're going to be doing. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.